It's an albino maple weasel. In Canada, they have something similar to Groundhog's Day called Weasel Week, where entire communities take the day off work and go into the woods to see if they can spot these little furballs in the trees. The amount of weasels that they find supposedly predicts how successful the next syrup season is going to be for tree trappers. Parts of the country still take this event so seriously that it can affect stock prices for Canada-based companies. On bad weasel weeks, entire towns have been known to travel to neighboring towns to capture the weasels from their trees and bring them back to the local forests. Carloads of weasels can be seen driving down the QEW on any given February day during the week. The rebellions of 1837 that resulted in Quebec and Ontario being separate provinces was actually caused by a record-bad weasel week and the resulting conflicts. The first notable comment reads,
"Sometimes I think my bullshit radar works, and then other times I fully accept that Canadians take a day off of work to hunt for syrup weasels."
And the second comment goes,
"Yeah, I didn't even question it. Seems like something Canadians would be into."
And the third comment goes,
"I'm Canadian. It took me until they mentioned the QEW, a big highway near Toronto, for my bullshit radar to kick in."
Paper mushrooms! They only grow out of books printed before 1885, when the composition of paper changed and it no longer contained recycled linens and cotton rags. Those materials mixed with the toxins in ink were super conducive to fungal growth. Books left in the dark actually had less issues, as is the opposite you'd expect with fungus. But this is why we place books spine out in bookshelves. It's a habit that started back when if you left your book exposed, it would grow mushrooms. The excuse was popular among school children, "My book grew mushrooms," when they didn't do their homework, which led to, "My dog ate my book mushrooms," when questioned about why the book looked fine. And that ultimately morphed into, "My dog ate my homework." Eating the book mushrooms is not recommended at all, as they do not have any nutritive properties and no hallucinogenic ones. But they do tend to carry a parasite called bookworms, which creates a wildly insatiable appetite for reading other literature. The first notable comment says,
"You, sir, are a legend. I was believing you until the end."
and the second comment says,
"I still believe."
"It's super neat to see such a high quality pick because this helmet is really unique for its time due to all of the status symbols it contains. The first thing you'll notice is the nude figure set into the helmet. This is to subliminally remind those looking upon the helmet that they are less protected and less important than the wearer. Next, you'll see all of the gold leaf designs. The round one under the pivot point of the visor is a shamanistic symbol of the time for vitality. The gold leaf ornamental lines symbolize charisma and luck, while the faceplate symbolizes strength and stamina. The helmet is so unique because of all the stat boost it gave to Archduke Ferdinand, but he earned it when his guild raided the dragons that plagued medieval Europe for so long, and they dropped all the quest pieces, making him the first Archduke to max all of his stats." And the first comment says,
"Name checks out."
which his name is guywithrealfacts. The second comment says,
"One of my favorite new novelty accounts. Hope they don't overdo it though."
and then here comes Guy with Real Facts himself responding to that last comment saying, "Who you calling new?" Sphinx cats, the cat that hairless breeds are mostly derived from due to a genetic mutation, actually originate from Canada. Being hairless causes these cats to tend to pair up with a non-mutated partner to share the warmth of fur in an act of interspecies self-preservation. The two paired cats will bond, usually for life, and dwell together in the wild. The cats will travel together, eat together, sleep together, and often seem to participate in a small mating ritual which is abnormal for cats once they do choose their life partner. The hairless cat will collect shedded fur from its partner, and he will make a small wig which he will wear on his head. From there he will stand on his hind legs in front of a reflective surface and stare longingly at his fake hair until it's time to begin the ritual. Nobody really has ever seen the actual ritual. It's often done behind an abandoned Tim Hortons late at night in the rough part of town. I'll just read you what this picture says. If you can name 5 Kardashians but don't know the name of the first human to strap himself to a giant-ass missile and get shot into space and make it back alive, it doesn't mean you're a bad person, but you should probably reevaluate your internet and reading habits. And then here's Guy with Real Facts comment. Yeah, accurate and truthful history is important. I'm a huge proponent of it. Wiley C. was the actual first person to strap himself to a rocket for testing purposes. He was an American from the Southwest, and often he'd test his rocket contraptions in the desert there away from prying eyes. When he accidentally hit a bird on one flight, the whole story was blown out of proportion and everyone said he was out to get the bird from the start. They claimed all of his tools like anvils and explosives were bird traps and he got a bad reputation. They said he wasn't even a person, but he was a coyote, a local nuisance animal. Wile E. Coyote was a hero, never forget. Polychromatic eyes in cats are really rare, so this picture is way cool. Usually the colors are more subtle, like green and yellow as well. The blue-yellow mix seen here indicates a couple of things. This cat is more than likely a lost twin, having absorbed part of an embryo in the gestational process, and thus inheriting an otherwise unattainable genetic combination. There are side effects to cats who have this syndrome, including personality disorders such as lack of empathy for other cats, weird traits such as hallucinations, startle reflexes, telekinesis, laser beams from the off-color eye, and most obviously, cloaking abilities. There's one comment before his I left up there that says, "Thanks, I absolutely hate it." Here's Guy with Real Facts comment. LSD typically causes an enhancement in the already existing human tendency to see faces where they don't actually exist. Most people tend to go to great lengths to pick facial-like structures out of inanimate objects, sometimes to the point of accidentally designing face shapes into objects to begin with. LSD's ability to enhance that trait can cause some pretty comical effects, with faucets being one of the main subjects of accidental tripping conversations. The term running your mouth is thought to be a slang for turning on the faucet while high on acid and talking to it. The main reason acid is still a controlled substance in most states is because the governing bodies don't want to give faucets voting rights, which surprisingly many of them insist on while talking to high people. The similarities in conversations between unrelated faucets is alarmingly convincing that they do actually have something to say, if people would just listen. One of the comments by user FookU315 says, "I personally think they're just naturally great listeners. Not sure I support them voting though." And someone underneath him replied to his comment, Smelly Waffle, says, "You fucking fascist." So this guy, user Guy with the Real Facts, I guess at 100k karma he said he would do a AMA, and I'm gonna read a couple things out of that. Someone asked him, "What's your favorite type of cheese?" And he says, "Any nice aged smoked sharp cheddar." For some reason I found that hard to say, but. And then the person after that says, "I like you." Other people came and they didn't have anything to ask, but they just wanted him to know how much they appreciate him.
How long does each fact take to write?
Not really that long. I'll usually start, erase, start, go in another direction, delete a paragraph, and end with something passable by the end. I'd say on average after I find a comment to reply to that allows me to be on topic, it takes about 3 to 4 minutes to come up with an idea and spit it out. I delete somewhere around half of them within minutes of posting them though, because I'll read them back and think they're stupid. At that point, I just move on to a new post if I can find a suitable one, or I give up until later.
When did you start and how do you write so convincingly? Do you have a background in writing?
I started this little project about 1.5 years ago, but it had been on my mind before that. It took a few months to really figure out what I wanted it to be. At first I tried not to make my facts be obviously fake. That backfired because I started getting requests asking for sources from some legitimately excited people, and that just made me feel bad for doing it. So from there it morphed into what it is now, where hopefully by the end of the post you've realized it's 100% fake and you've been had. I don't have any background in writing aside from some hobby, fiction, horror stuff, but that's a very flattering question, and thank you for asking it.
What's your favorite fact you've posted so far?
Going to answer this one 2 ways, because one of the major things that drives how much I like a fact are the comments I get back on it. The Reddit community is a hilarious bunch of people, and when they riff on one another, I think it's a really incredible thing. So my favorite fact because of the comments and conversations is Weasel Week. My favorite fact in general that I've come up with is paper mushrooms. And finally, this person asks,
I have always wondered, why do penguins have wings but can't fly? And why do they waddle with their eggs between their legs?
Guy with Real Facts responds, this is really hard to do in this sort of setting with no picture and no need to make it seem believable at first. I'll leave it below anyhow for you. Penguins are stuck on the evolutionary path between dinosaur and bird. When the meteor hit that killed the dinosaurs, it landed directly on a nesting area of a small, extremely violent and aggressive dinosaur. The impact from the strike flung the dinosaurs free of the blast heat, and they landed safely in the soft Antarctica snow. Being as tough as they were, the dinosaurs survived there and eventually evolved to adapt to the climate, although for some reason that evolution has stopped. So they've been stuck somewhere between super predator and dodo bird. They don't make nests, can't fly, but look like birds, though they have no bird abilities. Thankfully, they're not equipped to fulfill their predatory, bloodthirsty desires, which they still possess. You can see it by looking into those eyes. Penguins are the most dangerous thing that almost happened to mankind. The penguin's eggs are another story, but it's the same mechanic of licking a light pole in cold weather. When the egg is laid, it's a bit moist and it freezes to the penguin's foot on contact. There it stays until it hatches. TheVortex67, who posted the question to begin with, says, "Thanks for the info. I just love science and evolution, and this really stumped me.
Everywhere I look, I couldn't find a plausible answer. Even Wikipedia is spreading these lies and making up answers just because they don't know it. You are a godsend, and thank you for enlightening all these people. I didn't expect you to answer, but oh boy, I was not disappointed."
Well, I hope you enjoyed that. I recommend that you go follow Guy with Real Facts, because